Hi, this is Debbie from Organic Oasis in California, Zone 9B. You're probably wondering why I'm dressed like this today. It is winter or fall, and we're getting kind of some cooler temperatures. So I wanted to be cozy and I put this on. So today what I'm doing is I'm using the Ball canning book, and I am making vegetable stock from scratch, and I'm gonna can it. Tim and I are trying to get away from using meat-based stock and broth. I always buy the chicken stock or broth from Costco in the 6-pack, and I use it in all my soups and everything as a base, but we want to go more towards vegetable. And since we have so many vegetables here in Organic Oasis, that I wanted to start to use some of our vegetables to make my own broth. So today I'm trying this recipe, and I'm not using, the only actual stuff that we grew here that I'm using is my tomatoes, because everything else I don't have fresh growing. My carrots are still babies outside, and my celery is too young to use. But I do really want to make the stock, and I do still have tomatoes. So this is what I'm putting in is our fresh tomatoes. Everything else that I'm using is going to be store-bought. But let me show you how I do this, and I'm excited to do it, and I can't wait, because this is going to make 8 pints or 4 quarts of vegetable stock and broth that I'll be able to use for all of my bases for all the soups I plan to make this coming winter. So follow along, and thanks for watching. So what I used in this recipe is I used a pound of carrots, and this is what I had in my cabinet, so this is what I used. I weighed out a pound of these. I didn't chop them or anything, I just threw in a pound just like this. I used 6 stalks of this celery that I cut into 1-inch pieces. I only needed 2 onions because calls for a pound, and my onions are big, so I used 2 of these cut into quarters. I did not have red bell peppers, so I didn't put them in. I put in a bunch of our tomatoes. It's calling for 2 medium dice, and I put in probably 6, plus a whole bunch of cherry tomatoes that I had. It calls for 2 medium turnips. I did not put that in. I put in 3 scoops of garlic. It calls for 3 cloves crushed. I put in 3 teaspoons. Bay leaves. I put in 3 bay leaves, which is what it calls for. It calls for a teaspoon of crushed thyme. I'm out of thyme, so I didn't put that in. 8 peppercorns, threw those in, and 7 quarts of water. And I just put them all into a big pot, and I'm getting ready to start it cooking. Here we go. This is all mixed up right now. It's all in the water, the 7 quarts of water. So I'm going to turn on my heat, and I'm going to get it going, and I'm going to get it boiling. And once it's boiling, I'm going to reduce it to simmering, and I'm going to simmer with this lid on for 2 hours. Then I'm going to take this lid off and simmer it for another 2 hours with the lid off. The vegetable stock is coming to a boil, and now I'm going to reduce the heat to simmer, and simmer it for 2 hours with the lid on. It's been 2 hours that I've been cooking this vegetable broth with the lid on. So now I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to simmer it another 2 hours with the lid off. The vegetable broth has been cooking for 4 hours now. 2 hours with the lid on and 2 hours with the lid off. You can see it's really cooked down a lot, and a lot of the liquid has evaporated. But I think I'm still gonna get at least a few quarts out of this. And it should be really delicious. So the next thing we're gonna do is strain this, and with the strained vegetables, I'm gonna add them back into my compost bin outside. I may even give some of the carrots to my worm bin. But basically you will dispose of the vegetables And since I have a composting bins, we have like, I think 5 going right now. I'll just put them in one of the compost bins. So right now I have my pressure cooker heating up with 2 inches of water in it. And I'm now going to strain the vegetables using this mesh strainer. So I'm just going to start pouring the broth through the strainer. Okay, I'm going to set this aside. And as you can see now, I have all these vegetables in here. I'm going to try to press some of the liquid out. So I'm just going to take my potato masher and just kind of mash some of these vegetables and see if I can get a little bit more of the liquid out of the vegetables. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and scoop this into my bowl that I'll be saving for my compost bin. And now I'm going to be pouring this into my strainer and see if I can get a little bit more vegetable broth out of this. Just take this and okay. So now I'm just going to take my masher and I'm going to mash the vegetables just to get the remaining juice, vegetable broth out of these vegetables. As you can see, there's a little bit more here. It's gonna come out as I squish it down. Okay. Okay. So now here's my strained vegetable broth. It's nice and clear, smells good. Okay, so I have my warm jars, my hot jars, and I'm gonna go ahead and ladle the vegetable juice into the jars, trying not to spill it as much as I already have. I want 1 inch of headspace. This is a low acid food item, so you have to pressure cook it. You cannot water bath this. Okay, I'm gonna check the headspace. I need 1 inch, which is all the way to the top. So I need to put a little bit more in here. Perfect. Gonna clean the rim. This is really hot. So I need to hold this and wipe the rim. I don't want it to tip over. We wipe the rim so that we do not. I've got my hot lids here. Ow. I need my magnet. I couldn't find my magnetic thing. My magnetic lid opener. So we leave 1 inch of headspace. We put on the hot lid and we just finger tighten this. Just finger tighten it. Lift and put into the pressure cleaner. Okay, I will do the next one. You don't have to remove bubbles, air bubbles, when you're doing broth because there's nothing to take up airspace. It's not like when you're putting in, say, canned peaches and you may have a lot of air trapped in the peaches. You have to make sure you remove air bubbles. But this, because it's all 100% liquid, you don't need to do that. So this is not going to make as much vegetable broth as I hoped for. I think they do tell you to simmer it for the 4 hours, but boy, it really, a lot of liquid evaporated, and so I'm not getting as much as I thought I would get. It means I'm gonna have to make another batch tomorrow or the next day. I'll keep going, making more as long as I have the tomatoes and the celery and the carrots and onions. Okay, so I've got my 1 inch of headspace. Grab this and hang on so you don't tip your hot vegetable broth all over. I do have a magnetic lid holder, but I couldn't find it and I'm lazy, so I'm using my fingers and it's really hot. So I don't advise doing that, but. Okay, just finger tighten here. Okay, so I've only got 2 quarts. I could have done pints, but I like quarts when it comes to broth. A lot of my soups, I would be using 4 cups, so I wanted the most. Now there might be enough to do a pint or a half pint. I'm gonna hope that it does a pint. So I'm gonna go ahead and try this. I'm hoping I have enough here to do my last half to do 1 pint, but I'm not sure I'm gonna have enough to do this, but I'm gonna hope that I do. Let's see if I can get a pint. It looks like I will get a pint. I just need 1 inch of headspace. Let's see what we got here. Let me measure this. Yep, I think it's perfect. I need to put more in. Okay, so I did have enough for 1 more pint, 1 pint. So basically we have 2 pints in a quart. So far I have 2 quarts. So I have 4 pints and then this makes a pint. So far I've made 5 pints. So I have my jars in the canner, and now I need to put the lid on. My jars are in my pressure canner, and I'm not sure if you can see this, but I've got steam now venting from the venting spout, and I'm gonna let it vent for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to get the pressure to 10, and I'm gonna leave it going on the PSI 10 for 35 minutes for quarts. It would be 30 minutes for pints, but since I have 1 pint and 2 quarts, I will have it go for 35 minutes. And then I will leave it sitting until the pressure is completely back down to 0. And I will open the lid, and then I will leave it sitting in the water for 10 more minutes, and then I'll be able to take it out and set it on my counter. And I'll show you how it turns out at the end. Okay, so it looks like my Presto canner has reached the 10 PSI. It's gone a little bit over, so I'm gonna turn down the heat a little bit. You can see that the pressure relief valve is jiggling, so it should be doing that. And since I have 2 quarts and 1 pint in this canner, I need to let the vegetable broth go for 35 minutes on 10 PSI. So I'm gonna go ahead, let it go for 35 minutes, and then I will open the lid. I will let the pressure go back to 0, and then open the lid and let it sit for 10 minutes. And then I can take out my cans and put them on the kitchen counter. The vegetable broth has finished cooking in the pressure cooker for 35 minutes, and so I turned the heat off, and now it's just gonna sit until the pressure goes down to 0. And then I'll open the lid, leave it sitting for 10 minutes, and then I'll be able to remove them and put them on my counter. The vegetable broth is done, and doesn't it look wonderful? The recipe, actually after boiling it, simmering it for 4 hours, it did reduce quite a bit of the liquid. So I ended up with 2 quarts and a pint. So I may fool around with this recipe a little bit and try not taking the lid off. And if I take the lid off, maybe just for an hour instead of 2 hours, because I feel like it really evaporated a lot of the broth that I could have canned. So, but that said, I have 2.5 quarts of wonderful vegetable broth, and you can have this too. If you have any vegetables that you don't think your family's gonna eat up in time, rather than throw it into your garbage or throw it into your city compost, try chopping it up and cooking it and making vegetable broth. If you're not into canning, which not everybody is, you can go ahead and just store it in your refrigerator and use it up in like maybe a couple weeks. I can't say for sure how long it would last in the refrigerator, but I would think 2 weeks, it would probably last 2 weeks, maybe more. But canning, and now that they're coming out with electric canners, there's a Nesco I did a review on, I didn't like that. It was a big fail for me. But I'm going to possibly get the Presto this Christmas, and I'll be showing you how I use that, the Presto electric. They're easy now, so if you want to can and try canning and maybe can vegetable broth, you could start off with an electric canner, and you might be able to do a couple jars and put them on and actually leave your house or go about your business and not stand in the kitchen the whole time. So it is getting easier. Modern times, we have all these new things we can do, which is good in a lot of ways. So if you enjoy these type of recipes, please follow Tim and I and Organic Oasis. We love sharing with you, and please don't hesitate to comment if you like my video, if you like this recipe, or even comment on another video you would hope I might make in the future. So we love having you be a part of our lives, and please keep following us and have a wonderful holiday season. Thanks for watching.